Hi, Elazar. Hi, Guy. Hi. Hi, everybody. Okay. Our first panel this morning will deal with the most burning questions of cyber attacks, so many of those. The chairman of this segment is Mr. Guy Mizrahi. Guy is a serial entrepreneur, a cyber expert, and I might say a retired hacker. Yeah, he used to be, but he's one of the good guys for a long time now. So let's start with a few words from you, Guy, and then we'll introduce our distinguished guests here. So the scope of this thing is beyond real what's happening with cyber attacks these days.
Yes, it's amazing. You know, I've just started to write some of the places that were hacked in the few months. So we are talking about hospitals like Hillel Yafe, the More Institute that contains a lot of data, a lot
Medical
of private
Institute
data.
Here in Israel, yeah.
Shirbit, the insurance, hosting companies, Atraf dating for,
social media.
Yeah, social media of private people and for a lot of other entities. So basically, a lot of people, a lot of...
This is just in the past few days in Israel.
Yep.
And not only here, everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere around the world. So what's happening? We'll talk about this now with our guests. Let's get to know you, introduce yourselves briefly. Elazar, Biro, from Ness. Tell us a little bit about what you do and your company.
So my company is Ness Technology. Cyber Control is the cyber division at Ness Technology. We deal with incident daily by monitoring, identify, and contain cybersecurity incident from startup and small companies to enterprise companies. Unfortunately, it's also the happy side is that I not see it over in the 10, 15 years and more. And the sad side is that I don't think we have enough knowledge and we as, let's say, companies, startup companies, enterprise organization to deal with cybersecurity incidents. So my perspective is let the companies focus on what they do best. If it's healthcare, so focus on healthcare and so on. If it's a beer company, focus on making beer and let the expert doing what they do best. We have in this panel great people that this is what they do for living, and this is the way I think it should be.
Okay, then we'll do that. Chen Girat.
Yeah, hi. So I come from the INCD. Basically, our main goal is to protect the cyber domain of Israel. I've been part of the INCD for the last 6 years, and I hope we can talk a little bit more about what we do and how we do it a little bit later on.
Of course. Levi.
First, not many people know that, but Chen Girat is the Israeli George Clooney. So,
that's true. now that he said it.
My name is Levi. I'm the founder and CEO of Confidas. We are a cybersecurity company that was established in 2013. Before that, I served as a secretary for the Prime Minister's National Cyber Task Force, which created the National Cyber Directorate 10 years ago. We help companies prepare for cyber attacks and cyber incidents. We do incident response, actually with most of the people around this table. And we provide a managed service, as Elazar said, for small companies who just don't have the money and the resources and the knowledge to do it themselves. And about a year ago, we created a company with the Israeli shipping company Zim, and we provide those services to logistic companies around the world.
Okay, Boaz.
Hi, good morning. I'm from Clearsky Cybersecurity. We do threat intelligence. Mostly what we do is we try to give our clients a way to understand what's going on right now in the cyber arena and help companies that were attacked try to understand who attacked them and what they need to do.
Okay, so I think if those guys don't solve the cyber attacks problem, nobody will. Moty, you have a very interesting angle to all of this. What do you do exactly?
Thank you, Yaakov. I'm a negotiator. Actually, I have nothing to do with technology. I have a small consulting firm who deals behind the scenes in managing and supporting complex negotiations. And being a crisis negotiator for more than 25 years, 8 years ago, I was called by a friend, said, you know how to talk with the bad guys, right? So our company was hacked. Can you communicate and negotiate with that bad guy? And since then, in the last 8 years, I'm the man whom you call to speak with the bad guy, to talk with them with a lot of time with the help of Boaz, understand their logic, their dynamics, what's going on in this Iranian, Russians, Chinese, North Korean threat groups. Because by the end of the day, any man-made attack, man-made, not woman's made, man-made attack, there's a guy behind the keyboard, and many of these hacks had to do with a psychological mind game that you definitely need to win or reduce dramatically the consequences for the victim.
Oh, I'd like to hear more on that later, how to talk to the bad guys. Okay, look, guys, every morning there's something new. Every day, a major attack around the world. It's getting worse and worse and worse. I'm going to ask you a question to each one of you. Do we need a shift in the way we approach the whole thing, a paradigm shift? It doesn't work. It seems not to work. What do you say to that, Elazar?
I don't know if we need to shift. As I said before, there is a professional and expert that deal with this daily. I think that we need to implement already an old methodologies like Ness and SANS and MITRE attack inside not only the technology, also in the process in companies. So I don't think that we need, I don't think that the technology itself can solve the hackers, the attackers.
So what else? The behavior?
The behavior, the process, the awareness, and the understanding that we are probably already under attack and we need to be more ready when the crisis comes. We have to have a Moty number.
Many Motys,
to call him, or no matter, other guys.
Well, that's too late. When Moty comes, it's a little too late,
yeah,
you know.
For negotiation,
right.
only
Yeah.
Moty. And also to know what to do, how to speak with the press, how to
manage the whole thing.
How to manage the whole thing, yes.
Right.
We must to work on the preparation phase.
Guy, as a former hacker, who's winning the war between you and me? Nobody listens.
You know, it's amazing because the cyber market is growing every year. You know, it's $1 billion market. It's amazing. There are a lot of startups, a lot of security tools, security systems, personnel that are expert in what they do. And every day we hear about another attack, about another place that was hacked, and now there is a huge problem. So basically, we are doing something wrong because there are a lot of systems, a lot of personnel, a lot of money in this industry, and the problem is just getting grower. So we have a problem, and we don't know how to solve it.
Chen, we have a problem.
Good. That's exactly the time to call our 24/7 hotline 119 that will help you. But seriously, just to continue what Elazar said, the main key to solve most of the simple attacks, and to be honest, we see a lot of very simple attacks that succeed. And with raising the awareness of people and implementing simple 10 best practice solutions, you can increase the level of security of your organization and reduce the potential of getting attacked. So that's one thing I hope people will take from here. Try to do best practices, to implement best practices, simple best practices, and you can reduce the way you will be attacked.
Okay, we'll talk about the role of the government later, but now to you, Ram.
Imagine you're driving with your car on the road, and there is a risk from making an accident. Then you can buy a better car, and you can be a safer driver, and you can implement all those safety requirements. But in the cyber world, you're driving a car, and someone is shooting at you all the time. Now you have to avoid the shooting, and then you have to drive safely. What I'm trying to say is, yes, there is security we need to do, and there is no question about it. But the paradigm shift should be not only in the security, but also in the deterrence. We need to see more governments catching those hackers, imposing price and cost on the hackers, because right now, hacking is almost a cost-free crime. Because it's more likely than not that you will not get caught. The gains are very, very high. And if we do not do enforcement, they will not be deterred and they will continue because everything is digitalized and people want to make money. Now, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that some attacks are not for the purpose of money. They're politically motivated to influence elections, to throw fear in societies. And we need to find new ways of deterring those hackers that they will minimize the risk, they will minimize the number of attacks that will happen, and they will know that if they're attacking, especially a country like Israel, which is supposed to be very advanced, they will pay a price for it, and they will be deterred.
So, Chen, the government needs to do more in that, he says.
Yeah, the government is actually spending a lot of efforts on trying to understand how to better protect and try to raise the level of resilience of the Israeli industry. There is a cyber arena. And sometimes we work with the law agencies in order to try and help them do what they need to do. As Ram said, there are all sorts of things that can be done. But again, it's very hard in the cyber arena to do that. They can hide very easily. We see that every day, especially activists that can hide and all sorts of this. I think it's a challenge. I think that we're trying to handle it in our own ways. It's not always perfect, but there's a lot more we can do about it. I totally agree, and we're working on it.
Working on it.
I want to jump in
Yeah.
for a second about this, because, you know, when I establish a new company, I have a lot of things to take care of. I think about the locks on the door, I think about the physical security, and I need to think about cybersecurity. I shouldn't be expecting that someone from the government will protect me. Okay, so my view as someone who pays taxes, I don't want to waste my taxes to protect some organization that, you know, earn money, and I'm not a part of it. So
But if someone shoots missiles at you, do you expect the government to protect you?
Yes, if it's a missile, it's a physical
Is there a difference?
something, you know.
Is there a difference these days?
Yes, I think that there is a difference, because if I will protect myself in the cybersecurity side, it will be very hard to hack me. If I'm neglecting this, it will be very easy. And most of the cyber attacks that we are facing are basically because of neglect.
Right. Boaz, companies throughout losing the war against cyber attacks?
In 2012, I had a discussion with a very smart person about what's going to be in the cyber arena in 2020. And actually, I have these slides, and we thought that in 2020, the situation would be much better, because all infrastructure would be much harder to penetrate. And I was really wrong.
Yeah.
I was 100% wrong. And the reason for it is that we are right now using a lot more technology, a lot more devices. In 2012, we didn't have this. So the attack surface right now is much bigger, and the challenges are much harder to face. But if you ask me, I think it's a combination of what everyone here talked around this table, and we need to think again about better ways to protect ourselves, because all I would say security controls are working, but only 80% of it is working well. The other 20% is a huge challenge, and we need to think about a new solution.
Okay, Moty, you need to give us some interesting stories. Who are these guys that you are talking to? What's the profile? Who are they? What do they want, except for money, which we know?
As Ram mentioned, we definitely differentiate between two types of politically motivated or financially motivated. In our terminology, we call it the Russians versus the Iranians. Not all of them are Iranian, not all of them Russians, and it's of course mixed. According to the world statistics, 90% of the attacks, not in Israel is a different number, 90% around the world are financially motivated. And these are groups with a very limited number of extremely capable developers who develop very unique, I would say, malwares or attack tools using the increasing attack surface. And for them, first of all, is a technological challenge. Once they manage to develop this weapon, because there's a very limited number of people, they work with affiliates, distributors. So they literally hire, in darknet forums, they hired their distributors, and they said, you will attack, you will attack, you will attack, just give me 10, 20, 30%. Of course, that creates an amazing internal conflict and fascinating organizational dynamics. So by the end of the day, the person with whom you talk is an affiliate, sometimes frustrated the fact that he needs to pay 20% to this guys in Belarus or Ukraine. Sometimes they fight, and we had cases that the victims was literally hijacked. So you start negotiating with one group, and after 2 days of negotiation, they said, actually, here's a different Bitcoin wallet to transfer the money. And this is where we start to be very careful about whether to pay or not to pay. So these are the financially, by the end of the day, young kids motivated by greed and technological pride. Ram talked about deterrence. You know, we follow the interviews because sometimes they're very extroverted. They want to tell the stories. And one of them, they asked one of them, are you afraid of, you know, and he said, you know, I'm sure that I will not die of old age. You know, they are familiar with that. And then we have the politically motivated groups. The Iranian or Palestinian or BDS or Turkish or Malaysian, whoever wants to cause harm, they are, you know, young recruitees by organizations, state or state-supported, whose purpose is just to create havoc, fear, and dealing with them requires a much closer cooperation with the government in order to strengthen the resilience not only of Israeli companies, but of small, medium, and individuals.
Now, without names, do companies pay in general?
Of course, company pays. This is 2020.
No, not to you. I'm talking about the hackers.
To me, it depends if it's an Israeli or non-Israeli, but all the service providers are familiar with this. According to the numbers, 2020 saw more than $20 billion US paid in ransomware. So it's a huge, and you know, as a professional, we will never recommend the decision makers whether to pay or not to pay. What we will do is we present all the consequences, all the background information, and to what extent you can rely on that specific hacker, whether they have a track record of reputation, and some of them they do have. And if company understand that their downtime, okay, the cost of their downtime is much higher if they don't have a complete backup. If the cost of
So it's a
publishing
business
information-
decision. There's no
Completely
ideology there.
Business decision. I dealt once with an online gaming company, tried to bring down the ransom from, I think it was 8 million, and I managed to bring it down to 5 million. And I said to the CEO, give me another day. I think I can bring it down to 4 million. He looked at me and said, Moty, in one day, I make 10 million. It doesn't worth my time. So let's finish it and bring back the website.
Unbelievable.
I'd like to jump in, and you said
Yeah.
it's a business decision, and you're absolutely right. In fact, cyber attack is first and foremost a business crisis. So you can call the technical people and the cyber directorate, which is very good, and they will help you with the technical issues, but at the end of the day, a crisis is something that you need to manage from a business perspective. You have to report to regulators, you have to speak to your customers, you have to speak to your clients, you need to do a risk assessment and understand if you need to pay or not. You have to recover your systems. And if you've been hacked, I recommend calling us at 8272, so we will call 119 for you.
Elazar, whether it's for money or politics, as he said, Iranians, Russians, Turkish, whatever, the level of sophistication, is there any difference today? Everybody is state level today.
Most of the attack that company suffered, also all the last attacks that we saw in healthcare companies and so on, are not so sophisticated. I think that, let's say, 90% of the attacks are not so sophisticated. It's come from unpatched system or some weakness in this technology or other technology. So basically, it's simple. The sophisticated attacks make things much harder to detect, to identify who is the attacker and why he attack us. So most of the attacks are simple. This is unfortunately.
So it shows you that the protection was bad.
It's not, as I said before, it's not a matter of bad or not. You will hacked someday. Like Robert Mueller say in 2012, there is two kind of companies, those who hacked and those who will be. So it was right before and it's right also today. You will be hacked. Be ready.
Chen, as the government, does it make you uncomfortable that companies are willing to pay bad people like these?
Choose your word.
Yeah. I think, as Moty and Ram said, it's a business call. So I think the main thing to remember here that by paying to that attacker, there are two things. First, you encourage them to do that to other places as well. And the second thing, nothing guarantees that you will get whatever it is you're supposed to get from that attacker. So it's a very tricky question that we as INCD, as government, do not deal with, since we are trying to handle the attack itself. We do not deal with the attacker or the negotiation. We are trying, our job is to try and make sure the same attack won't happen in other places. So in cases like we're talking like that, like now cyber attacks, we're trying to understand what happened, how it happened, what is the potential damage from that cyber incident to everyone else, not only to that organizations, and take whatever it is needed from there, the technical data, and share it as quickly as we can and as wide as we can in order to stop it from spreading all over the Israel cyber domain.
What about going after the bad guys? What about going after them, Ram?
I would like Yaakov to spice up a little bit
Go ahead.
the conversation. What Chen said is definitely the official government, any government stand. We do not encourage, and the FBI are very vocal of that. They publish once a month. We do not encourage because it further encourages the ransomware industry, and second, because we cannot guarantee that you will get the, okay? It's okay. However, when FBI and law enforcement are involved in private sector hacks, they're always there, okay, if you don't have any choice, please pay and provide us all the indicators, all the technological indicators, because maybe we will not go after the, and one, it's not that it encourages, okay? It's like saying, you know, releasing prisoners encourages terrorists. Never proved right in the 200 years of counterterrorism. Second, you will never guarantee the getting back the data or the keys. It depends with whom you talk. One of our, and Ram and Guy and Boaz are all involved in this very, very nitty analysis. Because once we recommend the decision maker, we tell him the profile of the group and whether this group is reputable. I can tell you, and I will finish with that, last week, an American company paid $10 million US dollars as a ransom, and between the payment and you know, finalizing issues about the data, the hack group, Black Matter, dissolved. It happened. The bad guy said, okay, we had enough because of whatever reason, and their victim, the company itself, the data probably was migrated to another threat group, Black Matter and Conti. And I find myself negotiating now with the Conti guys, and they said, pay us again, or pay us more. And they said, we paid. And the guys wrote a sentence that I kept on saying, but now I have it on email from these bad guys. We checked, you're right, our reputation is more important than money. Your data will never be published. Thank you, goodbye.
Nice guys.
Hackers. No, not nice guys, business logic.
Right. Ram, I want to go back to chasing and going actively after the hackers. Maybe the government should do it, maybe somebody else.
I think that it's only governments that can go after the hackers. I mean, we can provide governments with the data, we can tell them what we know, Boaz can give them intelligence, but at the end of the day, going after the hackers is the sole responsibility of governments around the world. And we can see now, the US administration, for example, they have declared ransomware as one of their top priorities of the Biden administration. They adopted what they call a whole of government approach, which in Israel we have an un-whole government approach. We have everybody's competing with each other, but they have a whole of government approach, bringing together all these stakeholders from the Treasury Department, from the DOD, from the DHS, and so on and so forth, and going after the hackers and bringing them into justice in the United States. Now, it's not easy, and we see only very few law enforcement actions against those hackers, but it works. I mean, it works. They are slowly gaining more and more success in this area. It will take time because it's not, as I said, it's not an easy task at all. But going back to the question, it's simply the government's responsibility to catch those hackers and not the private sector's responsibility. And I would just like to say one more thing about what we said before. I think the sophistication of the hackers is not in the hacking itself, but in the fact that they know that there is a knowledge gap. Companies most of them are, even if they understand what to do, the knowledge that we have around the table and people here in this room have is not accessible to most companies. And doing cybersecurity is simply not as simple as it looks. It's not that easy to do upgrading servers in a bank, and it's not easy to do patch management in a 50,000 employees organization. It's just not easy. And the knowledge is not as accessible as we think, and therefore defense is harder, and the sophistication lies not in the technology of the hacks, but in the gap that there exists between what the organization knows that they should do and what they actually do.
It's not easy, that's what I took from what you said. And we'll not solve it right here, but it was, I think, an interesting discussion, and thank you very much for that. We're going to take a 30 minutes break now, half an hour. Take your time, enjoy the exhibition, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about cybersecurity. So have fun at the exhibition. Thank you. See you later.